To recognize our Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, David Weidler, who's filling in for Russ tonight. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. We have a presentation tonight. It's always a very nice one from our Human Rights Commission for the Human Rights Commission Essay Contest winners. And I'd like to ask Jeff Morrison, Chair of the HR Human Rights Commission, to please come forward.
Good evening. So every winter, the Human Rights Commission sponsors an essay contest for high school juniors. That's for students attending Ursuline Academy or Vianney High School or Kirkwood High School, or those who are homeschooled who live within the Kirkwood School District boundaries. This year, we had 75 students who submitted essays. The prompt or question this year was, what is the most important human rights issue currently and why? So we have 4 outstanding essay writers tonight we've chosen to get our 4 top awards. The winning essay should be posted soon, hopefully next week, on the HRC section of the city's website. So if we could have the winners come up. Thank you. Okay, the first place winner from Ursuline Academy is Emma Hingle. Okay, and maybe you could. Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah.
Individually and all together.
All
You
right.
guys want to get more in front of the Kirkwood sign?
What the HRC members, can you introduce all the HRC members here?
So. You and Paul Ward.
What's his name?
The second place winner is Gus Walberth. And Gus attends Kirkwood High School.
He goes to Ursuline, or did I make?
Here you go, Paul. I can tell. There you go.
Third place winner, also from Kirkwood High School, is Arul Osborne. And the fourth place winner is Khadijah Khan, also from Kirkwood High School.
Oh.
Go to a picture of the 4 winners with the mayor.
I love that, yeah.
Please.
Can the parents come out
Oh,
and
yeah.
get their best shot? There are a lot of, yeah, just so they can get their best photograph.
Oh, sorry. You.
Oh.
Thank you all.
Hey, Mayor, if I could just briefly, I think it's great that we have young people here tonight and that we're recognizing them and that they and their friends understand that we value what's in their minds and hearts and not only what they dance moves on TikTok are. So, thank you.
Totally agree. All right, we have no public hearings. We'll go straight to public comments.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed.
Thank you. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
Mayor and council, we have 5 people willing to speak tonight. First up is Joyce Long.
Hi, first I want to thank the council for letting me speak this evening. My name is Joyce Long and I've been a resident of Kirkwood. I bought my first house in 1994. I'm a single working mother with a 9-year-old daughter. I'm here to talk about the Kirkwood Parks and Recreation website. So who in their right mind would sign up for 3 weeks of before and after care for camp without signing up for camp itself? For those of you without kids, before and after care covers the period of time from 7:30 to 9:30 and 3:30 to 5:30. Camp is from 9:30 to 3:30. Well, when I looked at my receipt last week, I was missing the 1 entry for 3 weeks of camp, but I had 6 entries for before and after care for camp during that time. Wait a second. Common sense would tell you that that can't happen. It's absurd. No one would be signing up for before and after care unless they were also going to camp, or were at least on the wait list for camp. But as crazy as this sounds, this is exactly what happened to me. On February 7th, like many parents, I knew that I had to be at the ready. Sign up opens at 9 a.m. It's a tough time for working parents, by the way, and camp fills up immediately. In fact, this year the camp was filled by 10:30 that day. I got special permission from my boss to leave my meeting for 15 minutes that day so I could sit by a computer and sit anxiously waiting for the stroke of 9 o'clock to sign my child up for summer camp. Childcare for the summer is critical and crucial for working parents. At 9 a.m. sharp, I signed in. The website was slow. The screens weren't working well as everyone in Kirkwood is frantically picking times for camp. The website struggles to keep up with the traffic. I refreshed my screen several times. The website was having problems, but I made my 48 selections. Yeah, you heard that right. 48 selections and confirmations. Yes, you have to select, then confirm, then go back 16 times, 48 times pressing enter to get my child into 6 weeks of camp with before and after care. Finally, I'm in. I'm checked out. My receipt was over $1,000. I had 16 line items on my bill. And I'm thinking, I'm golden. I jumped back into my meeting feeling relieved that I was able to get into all the camps that were needed. And that night I told my daughter, who's in the audience here, we're in. She's in with her friends. We celebrated. It was a great day. Well, last week I happened to be filing some papers and I downloaded my receipt from the website in order to file it. And I noticed the receipt was missing 3 weeks of Camp Kirkwood. 1 entry is equivalent to 3 weeks of camp, but it takes 6 entries on top of this for before and after care. I called the camp director who confirmed that she did not have my daughter signed up for the camp, but did have her signed up for those 3 weeks of before and after care. I appealed to her common sense. Who would sign up for before and after care without camp? How can that happen? Her answer, well, she can go to after, she can be on the wait list, but that's it. And we would be number 12 on the wait list. So I said, okay, 4 weeks before camp starts, can I talk to the Park and Recreation Director, who I spoke to the next day? He said the same thing, but he indicated I could be number 16 on the wait list. And he indicated that No one would ever assume that if you signed up for before and after care, that you would be wanting to go to camp and that this happens all the time. I said, wait, what? This happens all the time? When I questioned this further, it came out that, well, no, actually it didn't happen. The only ones that sign up for before and after care were folks on the camp wait list, which it gives you a receipt that says you're on the camp wait list. My questioning him about this must have made him mad because then he became rather rude as I tried to continue to appeal to him that wasn't it implied that if you sign your kid up for before and after care, it implied that you wanted to be in care? And by the way, I finished registering by 9:08 and the camp didn't fill up until after 10. So my question was, why didn't the website show me an error message? There are error messages if you sign up for 2 camps at the same time, if you sign up for a camp that is not in your age group, if you enter an address or a phone number wrong, if the wait list is too long, the camp no longer shows up. All these error messages are on the website, but not if you sign up for before and after care with no camp. Did someone not look at the camp sheet and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? Had I not seen this, my daughter would have shown up for the first day of camp in June at 7:30. What would have happened at 9:30? I guess they would have had to call me and come back. Would they have called me? Is no one in the Parks and Recreations even looking at the list? They look at other lists because they've pulled camps from the website already. So we know that they're looking and know that this is full. So then I tried to discuss this with the city manager. I called him twice. I emailed him several times. He never returned my phone call and still hasn't returned my phone call. Then I called the assistant city manager. Still hasn't returned my phone call. Right now, we are signed up for before and after care, and we're number 16 on the wait list, and we plan on attending the before and after care. So what other choice do I have at this late date? There isn't much available, and if there was, it would probably be some type of half-day camp, and I'd still have to use Kirkwood for before and after care. So I will drop her off at 7 in the morning. I will pick her up at 9:30. I will turn around and I will drop her off at 3:30, and I'll pick her up at 6. I'm here because ideally, I think it would be great if Kirkwood said, yeah, we found out we had a little problem with the website. It's obviously obvious that we should have caught this, or, you know, maybe both of us can take some blame in this and figure out a way to make this work. But if that can't happen, I don't want any other Kirkwood family to go through this. It is a huge disappointment for my daughter, who thought she would be attending Camp Kirkwood again this summer with all of her friends. After COVID, our kids have had enough issues. It's a hardship for our family of 2, just my daughter and I. And now more than ever, she needs a community that supports her. Again, I would love for someone to say, hey, sorry, the system should have flagged this, so it would never happen, or we should have called you the day after and said something's wrong here. But if that can't happen, and if that's not possible, I would at least like my voice heard for other parents so this doesn't happen to them. I'd really like you to correct the website, because this is a very important thing to parents in Kirkwood. And this happens every year when that website gets hit with the traffic at 9 o'clock in the morning on the day camp starts. It is a nightmare. The system goes down. You have multiple entries that you have to make, and it's a nightmare. So I hope that we can correct that website so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Thank you.
Debbie Stream.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Debbie Stream, and I live at 716 Doherty Place. I just have a little thing to talk about. Item number 3 under new business, and it is bill number 10983. So this is in regards to the parking on both sides of Doherty Place, which comes off of Doherty Ferry. We have, I've lived on this street for 22 years. Anyway, there are a lot of high school kids that park from Doherty Ferry kind of in about 15, 20 cars. And most recently, we're not having any problems with the kids, but some of the kids park kind of far away from the from the curb, the newer drivers, and we're having a really hard time getting down the street. Not my car, but like some of the trash trucks. I did have to call Dan Andert one time, and he went to the high school and he figured out which child had this licensed car that was, the whole back end was sticking out. So it's kind of a safety issue that we're worried about. We have a lot of older people that live in the neighborhood and or anything. We have 16 homes and all 16 of the residents have signed a petition that my friend Mary Ann Common went to the trouble of putting together. And we just thought if there could be a no parking sign on one side of the street, about 600 feet down, this probably would resolve the issue. In the past, during Turkey Day, they do put those signs all the way down our street on the right side. So obviously they think there's an issue when there is a crowd. So it's just most recently, I think probably because at Kirkwood High School, the parking lot has been cut back a little bit and the kids need, and we understand that. They could still park on our street, but just not on both sides. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you for listening and thank you for your time.
Jamie Mansfield.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Jamie Mansfield, Armstrong Teasdale here tonight on behalf of New Growth Horizon. This is with respect to bill number 10981 on your new business item. On behalf of New Growth Horizon, please allow my speech here tonight to supplement New Growth's request for a conditional use permit and major site plan approval for the project that is at 10855 Manchester Road. I'm here tonight on behalf of applicant with respect to some of the public hearing comments that were at the April 20th meeting, as well as some of the other comments and questions raised by City Council at that hearing on April 20th. With respect to the beautification and overall improvement of the existing site, we have sent around to council some of the options that you guys have seen for the overall design renderings. And as presented by New Growth's architecture firm, Eddy Design Group, the New Growth has won various design awards with respect to its overall improvements of sites at certain locations that it owns. New Growth is committed to working with Kirkwood and staff and the architectural board to breathe new life into a currently vacant National Tire and battery site to set the tone for future attractive development along the commercial corridor of Manchester. New Growth shares Kirkwood's desire to enhance the site through landscaping, and as such, all islands and areas of the site plan designated as landscape areas will have generous landscaping, including ample grasses, shrubs, bushes, perennials, trees, etc. But I think one of the things that I want to discuss with you guys tonight is just as New Growth holds itself to a higher standards for that building and design of which it will bring to Kirkwood, New Growth holds itself to a higher standard when it comes to business operations. What many may not know is that when Amendment 2 was first passed, which authorizes the cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensing of medical marijuana, in order to win a license, applicants could not just simply state that they would meet the standards set by the state in terms of professional experience, product safety, security, and operations. If applicants wanted to win a license, they had to make promises that went above and beyond those standards to produce evidence that they could fulfill those promises if awarded licenses. Once the license was awarded, in order to commence operations at any given site, applicants not only had to prove that they met all of DHSS's rules and regulations, they had to make good on those commitments when they made their applications. To put it another way, if the applicant could not commence operations until it implemented the very things it promised to the state of Missouri and its residents, and if the applicants could not fulfill those commitments, they lost their license. With the passing of Amendment 3, not a single standard has been lifted by the state with respect to that professional, safe, and compliant operations of the comprehensive facilities. And just to add something that's not in the letter that I provided you guys here today is I was on the actual team at the application time. I saw New Growth press submit on its applications. We were there pulling all-nighters, writing, moving through the process too. So to say that I can speak on behalf of these guys is just how much heart and soul they pour into their operations, and having continued on every single ounce as they move through their commencement inspections. Personally, me today, I've been on the front lines with them. To that end, it should bring the city of Kirkwood comfort that New Growth was selected by the state to hold the maximum number of dispensary licenses for a single operator. It should bring the city of Kirkwood comfort that New Growth's security plan met and exceeded the state's security regulations, as discussed by Mr. David Bonenberger, New Growth's Director of Compliance. It should bring the city of Kirkwood comfort that New Growth's drive-through dispensaries have never received a complaint for excessive noise or other problems related to any drive-through facility. As such, with respect to the comments made at the public hearing about New Growth's permitted accessory drive-through use at the site, it should bring the city of Kirkwood comfort again that New Growth is committed to meet or otherwise render non-applicable the requirements of section 25-45I of the city's code. Recall, at this site, there will be no exterior menu boards, audible electronic devices, loudspeakers, service order devices, or other audible equipment. All items to be dispensed will be through a drive-through and will be pre-ordered online. At the exchange of money for goods sold will take place in an interior of the building, with both service bay doors closed. Many of the customers who utilize the drive-through are those that have certain medical conditions that make getting in and out of their vehicle difficult. Others simply like the ease and convenience of picking up their order, much like any prescription from a pharmacy or a drive-up retailer such as Target. While the use may feel different and new, its operations are familiar and highly regulated. New Growth Horizons understands, like any retail establishment with a drive-through facility, while it cannot control the behaviors of private citizens when first entering the site, it can appropriately monitor and manage their behavior once on the site. As discussed by Mr. David Bonenberger again, New Growth hires on-site security personnel who will ensure that the patrons entering the site conduct themselves in an orderly, quiet, and considerate fashion, or they'll be required to leave. Further, this retail use is inherently quiet, unlike the previous use at the site where vehicles were serviced with loud machines and equipment emanating from 3 service bays. New Growth operates 2 other drive-through facilities, with one coming online in Bridgeton soon, and has never received a single complaint for excessive noise or other intrusive conduct. It understands that as a commercial resident of Kirkwood, its operations will not only be governed by state regulations and the special use permit, but by the city's own municipal code. Any preemptive denial of the approval to operate a permitted accessory drive-through use at the site would be based upon unwarranted speculation about the patrons that would visit this site. Instead, what is concretely before the city council is that A, New Growth's use meets or renders non-applicable the requirements of section 25-45I of the code, including the elimination of any audio device or loudspeaker or menu board. B, there have been no complaints or problems with respect to its drive-through facilities. C, an 8-foot privacy fence to the rear of the property has been provided, adding additional layer of buffering to the residential neighborhood to the north of the site that meets all lighting standards. And D, like any resident of the city, New Growth will be subject to sections 16-1 and 17-70 of the code with respect to nuisance and noise and enforcement procedures. So thank you very much for your time and consideration in providing the great service that you do to the community, and New Growth Horizons look to do just the same with you guys. Thank you very much.
Ron Rizika.
Evening, everybody. I'm back. So, and again, beating the thing about traffic again. One, I want to say thank you to the police officer who was giving tickets yesterday, all day yesterday and evening. In fact, poor guy worked overtime. And I would like you to get his record to show you how many people are speeding on that section of North Kirkwood Road. It is a racetrack, and actually there's racing at night around 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's almost ongoing. So The main reason I'm here is because I've been talking to a lot of people in the neighborhood and finding out that it's across the whole area. And I'm imagining all of you who've seen the article about Connect Our Community. I've gotten involved with these people because it's just not North Kirkwood Road, but it's the whole area. And even the side streets. I was walking the other morning at Essex and Clay, and there was a lady who lived 2 houses in, stopped me and said, be careful of this intersection. They don't stop. I mean, it's just throughout the area. What I like about this Our Community is they're working on the Big Bend because, as you all know, Merrimack is restructuring their campus on Big Bend. The county is coming in, redoing the roads. And what we're suggesting is that downsizing it to a 2-lane, which Big Bend at one time was 2-lane, and also putting in a multipath for biking, walking. Last Saturday, we walked through the neighborhoods, knocked on the doors. We got a lot of feedback from a lot of people saying that this sounds like a great idea. They have a hard time getting out of Forest or any streets on the south side of the Big Bend. And we're also talking about doing a multipath connecting Grants Trail down Big Bend and down through Marshall Road to over to, I think it's Carswell, where there is a connection to the Merrimack River Bridge that goes over 44. There's a lot of miscommunication out there. And what we know as of right now, there is not going to be any personal property being taken back. This is all, we did a tour with Tom Blair, who's head of the MoDOT for this region. And believe it or not, MoDOT owns that road on Carswell. And also the land that would connect Carswell to Marshall. And so basically there's a lot of information out there basically stating that we're taking personal land, and the people in Big Bend were just unbelievable. And in fact, that they're excited about this whole issue. And I think that if I remember correctly, we're actually connecting Grants Trail to downtown. So I think the whole system, the trails right now are getting more and more attention. In fact, TrailNet is actually having on May 19th, Ride Your Bike to Work Day. So and there's a lot of people that we've talked to that actually do ride to work, but they say it's a little on the dangerous side. So, and I'm also recommending, which you might have seen my letter in the Webster Kirkwood Times, that I know that we're trying to downsize the streets up to Bodley, but I feel we should take it all the way to Wilson, because that's all a residential area in people's driveways. And my recommendation would be, have the 2 lanes with a turning lane. And I was talking to Chris just earlier. I deliberately been going down Kirkwood Road just to see if it's a bad backup with the 2 lanes. And it's not that difficult. What I like about it is the people who are speeding into that area finally have to slow down because there's other people actually observing the law. So, and there's some of the information that we've gotten, there's proven solutions to calm down traffic, shrinking the lanes, going to 2 lanes with a turning lane. Just wanted you to be aware of that. Some of us are actually taking people on tours, which we would love to do. Anybody on the council to show what we're talking about and the information that we've come up with. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Ellen Perkins. Rebecca Donaldson.
Thank you. I spoke at the public hearing and on April 20th. I remain opposed to the new growth marijuana dispensary at the former NTB site. And I would like to point out and also just add to the conversation the recent development that De Pere has taken. The planning zoning, I'm reading from an article that was in the Webster Kirkwood Times. The planning and zoning also recommends amending De Pere's zoning code. No, I'm sorry. After months of review, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended placing a proposition on the November 2024 ballot to ban comprehensive marijuana facilities within the city limits. The ban is allowed under Amendment 3 with only 60% of voter approval. So I would just like to add that to my opposition of the special use permit. Thank you.
Mayor and council, there are no more public comments.
Thank you, Bridget. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? All right, with motion second, Councilmember Gibbons, would you still like item C removed for discussion?
I'd just like to know a bit
Okay,
more.
that's
about
fine. No problem at all. So,
How it
uh,
works.
no, that's no problem. We will remove item C, resolution 5123, and we'll put that at the end of new business. So let me do my paperwork here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item C. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Consent agenda passes. Oh,
The citizen who wants to speak that did not fill out a card.
that's fine. Go ahead, that's fine. But
There's another one too.
2 people.
let me hold on 1 second. Let me get my paperwork together and we'll let you move forward. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Ed Pfeiffer and I reside at 190 Dorak in Kirkwood. I'm located right behind the marijuana facility that's proposed here in Kirkwood. I understand that from talking to some of the board members that defeating this is pretty much impossible. They've set it up so that they can go ahead and put the marijuana dispensary in. What I'd like to see is a few things to clarify. I'd like to see a 12-foot high sound barrier erected behind the building and extending along Clay. It can be of the type that they put in the BP gas station, that pre-paneled sound barrier. I'd like to have no elevated lights on the premises. They were talking about having light poles. I think instead they should illuminate the building with lights that are attached to the building shining downward so that they have minimal impact on the rest of the neighborhood. As far as the cameras should have no view of the backyards or the properties adjacent to the marijuana facility. They should strictly be focused in on where they need to be focused in on. And lastly, I think they ought to limit their hours from 8 until 8 in the evening. It'll be somebody on the premises at 7 o'clock in the morning. And per their conversation at the last meeting, if they close at 8, they'll be open till 9 for the drive-through to clear out the queue that they have there. That'll give them 14 hours a day instead of 15 hours a day. That's really about it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have one other person wishing to speak.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Kirchhoff, and I've been a resident of Kirkwood all my life. Born and raised here. And my husband and I have lived at 535 Dixon since 1986. My father had a grocery store at Manchester and Woodlawn, Harris Supermarket. A lot of family history since my great grandfather moved here in 1862. And I love Kirkwood and I've never left it and I don't want to. And I will do anything I can to keep it beautiful and lovely. And many of my friends feel the same way. There was a variance meeting last, Board of Adjustment last month, so I opposed what was happening on 531 South Crescent, North Crescent, and I was in opposition, but it passed. So that, at that point, I said, where would I go from here? And they said, they pointed me to the council. And they said, that's who you would speak to. If I was concerned because we're losing privacy, we're getting blocked. And now there's a new variance for this month for the house on the south side of us. We're only 2 homes on Dixon and 1 block. So the variance is the division of the 2. And I just feel like I've done so much to my home and I've created a beautiful home. And with this happening, there's just going to be a lot of barriers. I'm not going to have the sunshine coming in. I'm not going to have the plants. And I invite anybody to come by and see my home because it's lovely. But where do I go now? I'm at the council meeting and the last conversation I had with the building commission and the liaison, she told me this was a done deal, the one that's coming up on May 8th. And I can't believe it's a done deal if the Board of Adjustment should make the final decision. And so I took that on again, and I thought, she just said the same thing. I just don't want you to be disappointed. So what do I do?
I will have the city clerk, can you get in contact and either I will talk, not tonight, or you can have the explanation of how the Board of Adjustment actually works. So do you mind doing that? If you could get Nancy's phone number?
Would you mind leaving your contact information
Just leave
with
it there.
Bridget at the table there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. Very good. All right. No one else wishing to speak? All right, thank you. We'll move on to unfinished business, Bill 10976.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance vacating a 10-foot wide easement that exists on lot 1 of Woodlawn Country Club grounds as recorded in Plat Book 37, page 3 of the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds located in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, and more particularly described on exhibits A and B attached here to and incorporated by reference herein.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10977.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance vacating a variable width easement that exists on the tract of land on the 10,230 and 10,240 Manchester Road consolidation plat in the city of Kirkwood as recorded in Plat Book 370, page 409, the St. Louis County Recorder of Deeds, located in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, and more particularly described on Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated by reference herein.
Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10978.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance amending the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Article 2, Intoxicating Liquor, Divisions 1 and 2.
Questions or comments? Councilmember Ward,
Yeah, I slept through this one last time.
we're kind of hoping you would again.
Yeah. look, I've had a long running concern over whether we should return to essentially having bars and taverns within the city of Kirkwood. They disappeared for good reason. I don't think that it's a good environment for folks who live immediately near those facilities or those who live in some distance away from them. Our current requirement of requiring, a significant amount of your sales be food items is a reasonable one. And you can tell so by the flourishing number of businesses that we have here who are interested in continuing to come here. And those who are here will clearly be disadvantaged by their requirement for having food sales while new potential competitors coming in would not have that same recognition. When I view these things, I look at, does it have a reasonable expectation of improving the quality of life for the residents of the city of Kirkwood? And also, just as important, does it enhance the revenue for the city of Kirkwood? One of these clearly won't happen. The fact that you brew beer and only sell beer, I don't think is going to have much of a positive enhancement in quality of life for residents of Kirkwood, but it has potential for a lot of hazards for residents in the city of Kirkwood. So for that reason, I am opposing the amendment that we have.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Ward. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons?
Can we you're opposed to section 3-31. Can we just take that piece out of this amendment?
Someone makes a motion and 4 members of the council.
So moved.
agree. I'm not making the motion. Does someone? What's your motion?
What's your motion?
To require a sale of 50%
What,
food items.
what section
Well,
of that
I'd
are
have
you
Oh,
to pull that
amending?
up. I don't have it in front.
3.31. 3-3.
Yeah, it appears that, Wallace, what you're proposing is amending the definition in section 3.31 for craft brewery, winery, or distillery, which now provides a sale for on-site consumption is conducted. Said business must derive at least 15% of its gross income from the sale of non-alcoholic beverages or prepared food. And I think what you're now suggesting is it should be 50% rather than 15.
So
That's your motion.
That's
It's
the
motion
motion.
to amend the bill related to the definition of craft brewery, winery, or distillery to amend it to require 50% of gross income from the sale of non-alcoholic beverages and prepared food rather than 15.
I'll second it.
all right, so it's not deleting that one section, is that?
Correct.
Okay,
That's what I heard him say.
okay, all
correct.
right, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to change 15% to 50%. Are there questions or comments on the motion from the council? And I will just state, I don't support that. I think 15% for what we're trying to do here is a good number. So I don't support the amendment. Anybody else? Councilmember Sears?
Yes, I don't support it either. We had not insignificant, I would say we had a lot of input over this over a period of meetings. And we talked about that 15% being in the ordinance. And I think we are not opening up for a tavern or bar situation in the sense that this only applies to entities that make their product on premises. And those are in a category apart from, wholly contrary or different from places that are bars that are selling the wide variety of products, none of which they make at their place. It's a social place. It's not a party place, is how brewers look at their own establishments. And there's a lot of other things I could get into, but for those reasons, I think this is an exception that well, actually, it addresses a new category where we give a little bit more leeway to somebody who's going to brew their products, build products on site with all the attendant regulations that go around that business, which are significant.
Well, if we follow that logic, then brothels will be fair game for you. I don't see how that the fact that you brew the beer there should not give you any requirements to meet any of the other, the things that our other vendors have in terms of selling food.
Could continue to debate it, but I strongly disagree.
Are there any other
Councilmember Sears, could you give us an example
Of
of an existing business that's like this?
the breweries around town? Sure, there's loads of them. I mean, there's,
That have like just the 15%?
yeah, Third Wheel serves no food except through a vendor that they have on site, separate from them. The Four Hands, the brewery downtown, they don't serve food except for a vendor that they have in a little booth on site. So, and there's more. I don't know what their percentages are, though. I can only speak to the percentages of those two, and that's what comes to mind right now, probably more.
Can you tell our audience why you know so much about beer?
Oh, no, we don't have time for that. David, can I ask Jonathan a question? I'm not going to put you on the spot to come up, whether you're in favor. Do you see any implications of changing this number from what we're trying to achieve overall?
So if the amendment goes to change from 15 to 50%,
Yeah.
it really, there would be no point in creating a different license classification. I mean, they would all just meet the restaurant definition anyway, so it would be where we are today. Nothing really would change. They would all be the same as restaurants then.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is Four Hands Brewery still entertaining coming to the city of Kirkwood
As far as I'm aware,
with that onerous 50% food sale requirement?
they've partnered, they're one of the breweries, they've partnered with a food catering.
So we will have our cake and we can eat it too without changing the requirements.
We'll have some of our cake, as I stated in many of the work sessions. We've been approached by other businesses who this has been a hurdle for, and that's the reason staff brought it to you all, and it was discussed. So there are some that can meet it, some that can't.
And Four Hands is not going to be brewing at that location.
That's correct. At least they haven't proposed that yet, right?
Do we have any other questions or comments from council? All right, well, we have a motion on the floor in change section 331 definitions, last sentence from 15 to 50%. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No. It looks like we have, motion fails as 6-1 or 5-2. Did you vote for it? Okay, so we have 1 in favor, 6 opposed, so motion fails. Do we have any other questions or comments on the bill? All right, seeing none, a roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10979.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance appropriating $25,221 from the Equitable Sharing Fund balance to the Police Department Machinery and Equipment account, accepting the bid of Public Safety Solutions Missouri LLC in the amount of $25,221 pursuant to NCPA cooperative contract for the purchase of a CAD router system for the police department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Bill passes. We'll go to new business, Bill 10981.
Nope, 109.
80, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance appropriating $16,800 from the Equitable Sharing Fund balance to the Police Department Machinery and Equipment account, accepting the single source proposal of file on queue in the amount of $16,800 for evidence management software for the police department, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Sorry for that confusion. And any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Bill passes. Now we'll go to new business, Bill 10981.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance granting a special use permit for a marijuana facility, medical marijuana facility, and accessory drive-through facility, and approving the major site plan at 10,855 Manchester Road, subject to certain conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm going to make a very, very brief comment because I know other council members have comments. I will say that I am in favor of this as it is written. I know there will be changes recommended and there could be some minor changes, but I just want to lay it out there. I think what has been proposed is good. It will not cause issues with traffic, noise, or any of the other concerns we have heard. So, I'm okay with it the way it is, but I know other people will have different amendments and we'll see where they go. So Councilmember Gibbons, you're first.
Thank you very much. I thank you for addressing us about the landscaping. In your letter, it doesn't say anything about trees, but you did say something about trees. So I hope that in fact, trees are in the plan. In your letter, it just states grasses, shrubs, bushes, and perennials. So we know that the tree canopy is really important to global warming and all kinds of other things. So I'd like to make sure that that's in fact put in. I do want to make an amendment about the hours. I would like to recommend that we change the hours from 9 to 9, Monday through Saturday, and 9 to 7 on Sundays. And I would also.
Is there, let's do one. Do you have another? I'd rather get a
Just this
second to that.
Shutting down thing.
Is there a second to that motion?
Oh,
Second.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
and I guess one of the residents was told that they would stay open until 10 to finish up any business that they have. And I just want to make sure that they are closed at the time that we determine.
Jonathan, who wants to address that from the city? The hours, at closing time, what does that mean? That sounds like a foolish question.
Yeah, I mean, hours of operation, they would not be open for public transactions outside of those hours. There may be some staff on site, you know, cleaning or something, or shutting down after the business is closed, but it's the hours open to the public for business.
Right, and that's very common. Almost all businesses close at a particular time, and then the staff has to clean up and shut down. So the hours of operation relate to the times in which the public will be allowed to come in and make transactions.
Now,
Or at the drive-through transaction as well in this case.
Understood.
so in that, if I may ask for you, 9 PM, if that's closing time,
Yep.
basically the window shuts, and if there's somebody in line outside, they are,
There shouldn't be no transaction after that.
okay, all
Okay.
right, that's, okay.
And I'm sorry, Liz, I missed the hours. Did you-
9 to 9, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7 on Sundays.
And that purpose of clarity, you're amending then section 1, subsection 7, which currently provides that the hours of operation shall be from 8 AM to 9 PM daily. And it would then read hours of operation shall be from 9 AM to 9 PM Monday through Saturday and 9 AM to 7 PM on Sunday.
Correct. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments on that, that motion? And by the way, I support that. I think that's reasonable. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion, change the hours? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No? All right. That motion passes. You still have the floor. Do you have anything else? Okay. All right. Councilmember Litzo.
Thank you. I would like just a few items of clarification as to products. They are licensed to sell only marijuana-based products? Or other herbal substances such as kratom and that kind of stuff? Or is it just, specifically THC-based? Either, I don't know what the terminology is, like, natural or the gummies and those kinds of things. And I don't know if you also sell like other, like smoking,
Go ahead. Oh,
products
John,
or
I wanna
whatever.
look at you. Yeah.
I just,
I don't know actually that I have a good answer for it, but I think I would rely, I mean, their licensing through this is for marijuana related products. I would have to, I would actually probably defer to I don't know if the state regulations restrict them from doing other things at the same place. Our regulations would not, because any other sale is just retail sale that is unrestricted, but I don't know if that conflicts with the state regulations. So Mr. Hessel may have an opinion, or we may.
No, I agree with you. The only thing I would clarify is, again, I don't know anything about, that's an overstatement. I know some about Amendment 3, but I certainly don't know it in detail the same way as I'm sure Jamie Mansfield does. But like any other operation, assuming that this is a special use permit, and I know they're authorized by the state to sell recreational and medical marijuana products. Now, whether or not they can sell something else, whether or not that's Diet Pepsi or Coke products or something, I have no idea. From our standpoint, if it's a permitted use, they would be able to engage in that activity along with the special use permit.
well, the reason why I asked John is because we had a petition a few years ago for CBD kratom
Right.
and turned them down. Of course, they were trying to locate across the street from North Middle School, but also there've been some questions about trying to regulate kratom as a possibly Schedule I herb, and some counties in the region have prohibited it. St. Louis County looked at prohibiting it. So it does seem to be something that doesn't have issues. So I just wanted to find out if this was a possible thing that they might, because I did notice
I-
that there's
I
a
think they
CBD
can
kratom, but we need to suspend Robert's rules to bring them up to answer this question. So I would move to suspend Robert's rules
Okay. Is
to
there a
bring the
second?
petitioner up.
Second.
All right. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Can you have one person come up and one person?
Good evening,
Hello.
David Bonenberger, excuse me, Director of Security and Compliance, Transportation, other things, New Growth Horizon, 2609, Rock Hill Industrial Court, St. Louis. Just want to go ahead and answer.
That's my main question is
oh.
what, like, basically, what are the main products of concern here? What are you licensed for? And the main thing I'm interested in is would there be other sort of psychoactive herbal substances that might be sold that are not necessarily called out in this marijuana dispensary license.
Absolutely unequivocally, no.
Okay, that's great. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the quick ding, 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 good answer. Ding, ding, good answer. Um, this is maybe a Jonathan or Amy question. So regarding the 8-foot fence or wall, privacy sound mitigating wall that's proposed for the north boundary line. I drove, actually Mark drove me today because I wasn't allowed to drive yet. But drove in back of the site today, and I'm just wondering if you can sort of maybe explain a little bit more. That'll be one continuous fence along that rear property line. There's also a concrete retaining wall, some of which looks kind of junky. Is it going to sit on top of the concrete wall, or it's going to be in addition to, or who can?
So there are some existing fences that the residents have in the back.
Yes.
So the new fence is not going to be on the shared property line. It's a little bit back from that shared property line. So
Okay.
there's kind of a hillside there, so it's
Yep.
more on the hillside.
Okay, and it won't be sitting on that concrete wall.
I don't think so. That's,
I was just wondering that, I mean, because that's sort of at the western end of.
I mean, it's going to be
property.
sitting on the concrete wall on the clay side.
Yes.
But that's only proposed for
Yeah,
4
okay.
feet.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's between the wall and the property line.
okay, so some of the, I mean, obviously the residence fences are still gonna remain.
Yes, they will remain where they are.
Okay. Also, I was wondering, and I'm sorry to bring these questions up now, but they only occurred to me within the past couple of days. So I'm not sure like how MSD and their analysis of this site would be, what possible comments they might have about this site, if any. I believe that it's about at the eastern end by the Honey Baked Ham, it's maybe 611 feet elevation, and it drops down to about 601 right there at Clay. So you've got about a 10 feet drop east to west. Along Clay, there are several storm drains for capturing rainwater. We've got lots of pavement. I know they're taking out some structure and adding in a few islands, but I'm just wondering if, I mean, when we talked about Pie Pizzeria years ago, at least then, there was a major thing on Earl Avenue, which is not that far from here. I mean, it would take a little bit to get over to Earl, but there's a creek over there and an open swale or whatever. I'm not sure. There does seem to be more of a depression behind the BP, so water would sort of funnel behind the BP into that area right back there. And I'm just wondering if there might be a possibility for MSD to require some pervious pavement on some of this site, or what? do you
I mean,
expect?
they're going to take their proposal to MSD, and I don't know if they've done anything preliminary yet, but no. So, they will do what MSD asks them to do. Now, they are decreasing the impervious surface. So if MSD did not require anything, I don't believe that we would.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like, we all remember what happened last July and 7 inches of rain in 6 hours. My basement was flooded. We were, bailing water, and that was kind of region wide. And it just seems like this is an opportunity with a new business moving in to an existing site to possibly, put in place some stormwater BMPs or do whatever is possible going forward, either with city guidelines, or obviously they'll have to do whatever MSD requires them to do. But Jonathan?
So they will submit to MSD as Amy said. It'll be up to MSD, and MSD does consider downstream issues or other things. However, they are decreasing the amount of impervious area. So they're going to be improving the situation. As you said, it flows from northeast to southwest, so it'll get caught into MSD's system on the roadway. I don't know for a fact, well, I'll just say that. I mean, it will hit the street roadway sewer system before it goes on to other property, right? So MSD will be reviewing it for that. Because it's decreasing in impervious area, our ordinance doesn't require anything. Again, I mean, when we require things of applicants, it either has to be in our code to do such, and it has to be commensurate and because of something they're doing. And those are the thresholds that we'll be reviewing for, or MSD will.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let's see. I think that's it.
All
That's
right,
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sears, anything?
I don't have any questions other than what I expressed before, which was the, about the opportunity to beautify, and I was glad to see some information that was given us about plans, do that, and, you know, the building improvements that they renderings of, I think were, better than what's there. And so, no, I have nothing, no further questions or anything to add other than.
Councilmember Ward, anything?
Yeah, if I could get Jonathan or Amy to just give us a little quick summary of our lighting ordinance and how it applies to this facility.
Sure. So all of our lighting code requires that all lights be full cutoff so that they shine down and there's no light above the surface of the fixture itself. So they are putting all new light fixtures on the site. They do have some pole lighting, but we do require that a parking lot have an average lighting level. And so they are going to need some pole lighting to meet that level. You can't necessarily meet it with just wall packs on the building. We do measure the light spillage onto neighboring properties and to the residential properties in the back. It needs to be 0.1 foot candles. That's measured at the property line at ground level. And the lighting plan that they provided shows that they are going to meet that level. 0.1 foot candles is practically negligible lighting. Now, they do have some spillover to the property to the east, which is the Honey Baked Ham, partly because they are going to have a shared drive aisle. But past the shared drive aisle, it does meet the 0.5 level, foot candle level that is allowed onto commercial properties.
Okay. One other thing, signage. People concerned about noise, and is there a possibility, I don't know, we can't require it, but could we have signage placed in a optimum place that says, you know, no loud music from your vehicle?
So they're allowed certain signage on site for their own signs. I guess if we did something like that, it'd have to be like a more of a directional sign. I don't know if we've done that anywhere else. Do you?
Can't say it's, I don't know that we've done it specifically for noise, at least not recently, but we've done it for other, you know, other direct, like no turn restrictions or things like that. I mean, I would assume it would be, I've seen them in other communities where it's, you know, making you aware of the nuisance ordinance and noise ordinance, but I mean.
So if the applicant volunteered to put that kind of signage in, that would be okay, that'd be acceptable.
If they volunteer, I mean, then it's volunteered and if they.
Well, you know, we have sign ordinances. I didn't know if that would be in violation or whether it need to be a
Well, if-
monument sign, a lit
For
sign,
that,
what-
for a public, I mean, that's more of like a public safety sign. Those are exempt. So it would be it would be the size of an ADA parking sign or something like that. So those signs are exempt if it's required of the development. And for a public safety reason like noise, it would be exempt from our sign code. Wouldn't go through an architectural review board or anything like
Okay,
that.
so then it sounds that I'd need to amend the application to require signage.
If you want to have a sign on site or to notify patrons of the noise ordinance that exists, I would, and if you want that to be a requirement, I think it would take a motion to amend to add that condition.
Okay.
I would agree.
And would it be onerous if we obligated the planning department to come up with a verbiage on that sign?
No onerous than anything else we do.
Good answer.
Response. Yeah. Excellent. What color do you want?
You know, I'm partial to at least some red and white in that sign, so.
What we've done before is with language and location as directed by the Planning Development Services Department. I would ask if you have a certain number of signs that you're thinking because I just don't, I want to make sure there's a clear, that staff understands what is expected of us.
I think the major concern is with people queuing up for the drive-through. So whatever that
Okay.
ideal location is, that's where I'd say.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that a motion?
that's a motion.
Do you have, hold on, do you have enough of the wording on the motion?
Mayor, I'm not sure that
Not
we're ready
quite.
to make it into a motion,
Oh,
other than we have a request from Councilmember Ward for staff. Are you going to do this on your own, or am I going to help you? No. I'll
Oh,
gladly help you.
Yeah.
Come up with language.
I thought Jonathan wanted a requirement for, and I said you agreed to.
I would agree with that. The question is whether or not you want to make a motion to amend to have staff design a sign with the appropriate language and color that says in effect, no loud music. My point is, that's a hard motion to.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? I think you get the gist. Can you work on that and then? we'll have that-
Substitute.
That's what I was
Well, you substitute or an amend, whatever you decide, or, an amendment.
propose it for the next
Yeah, we'll
meeting.
do that. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
good with that.
okay.
We'll work on something for the next meeting.
Good. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Amy.
Hmm.
Anything else, Councilmember Ward?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay. Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, well, thank you. I know that there have been a lot of improvements made to the site here. Based on the discussions that we've had tonight, there were concerns about the drive-through and the queuing because the queue line is right on the line, just on the other side of houses there on Dorak. From my observation on one of the other locations, that did not have a drive-through, it was very quiet. It was very calm. There was no disruption. So we wanted to talk about the possibility of amending the ordinance to add a condition that a revised plan is submitted to remove the drive-through. Now, again, that is based on the concern about noise and disturbance from a queue line. Maybe the sign that Councilmember Ward has proposed would solve that issue, and they could have the drive-through if, that sign is there and it discourages loud noise. So.
All right. Anything else?
Yep.
All right.
To add something to.
Sure.
what Councilmember Zimmer just said, you just said, that the queue line is on the property line when in fact it's against the building with space between the queue line
Some
and the
space.
back product. Well,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the
12
exact
plus feet,
measurement
12
is.
plus feet,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a path, the line, the queue, not the queue. The lane that's on the back property line is for cars that want to bypass the drive-through. So there's room for a car to go around the queue.
Is that true? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's true.
Enough
Alright.
room back there for 2 cars.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Councilmember Dewey, anything?
Yeah, I've had questions from a couple of the people living behind the area. And And one of them was they measured and themselves, I don't know where they measured it from and to where, but they said it was less than 1,000 feet to the next church. So I don't know if, I don't know who did the measuring.
Yeah, professionally licensed land surveyor did the measurement and provided a signed and sealed exhibit.
Cool.
It meets the code.
Thanks. That's what I said, but he argued with me. So thanks. That's it.
All right, do we have any other questions? I see, does that mean yes? You have something to
Yes.
say? Councilmember Little.
Yes, want to make sure I got your peripheral vision. I'm not necessarily opposed to adding signage, but I did hear the petitioner say, this security manager, Mr. Bonenberger, that his staff on site were going to make every effort to ensure that inside and outside was operating smoothly and quietly and with codes and all of that kind of stuff. So presumably, we won't have loud music and thumping cars and stuff waiting in a queue line. So I'm not opposed to a sign because I insisted on Walmart putting no idling per whatever ordinance down in the loading dock by Walmart. But I'm fairly confident that their staff will ensure that this is a high class operation where we're not having rowdiness going on. Oh, one other thing. I'm just wondering, calling this a drive-through to me seems to be a misnomer. It's more like a pickup line or something because we're not ordering. You're not standing in line ordering. There's no menu. There's no speakers. There's no exchange. It's kind of like the High Points pickup. So I think calling it a drive-through kind of creates more of a scenario that really won't be the case. There will be potentially a queue of cars, though other facilities that I've seen, of course, not with drive-throughs, but I haven't seen like droves of people scrambling to, patronize these businesses and creating havoc. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, anything else from council? All right, seeing none.
Mayor, I would be surprised if, seems like this would be a natural business for a food vending at some point in the future.
50%. You're not prohibited from selling Doritos,
All right.
whatever else you might need, Wallace.
Well, in their car, they
Mhm.
don't want to
Okay,
have that.
yeah, okay.
food.
All right, with that, all in favor of first reading of Bill 10981, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Bill passes first reading. All right, Bill 10982.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance appropriating $25,000 from the Equitable Sharing Fund balance to the Police Department training account for training for the police department.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, do we have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Bill passes first reading. Bill 10983.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance amending the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 8, Section 14-393, Schedule C, no parking zones by adding no parking on the east side of Doherty Ferry Place from Doherty Ferry Road to a point 604 feet north of Doherty Ferry Road.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Or second?
Second.
Second. I'm going to ask a question. I don't know if it's Bill, Jonathan, Chris. Does this address Debbie Stream's issue of parking? Can you address that, please?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Yes, it does.
Okay.
So yes, this would prohibit parking on the east side and it meets all of their requirements
Okay. All right.
and requests.
Great, thank you. Want to clarify? that?
Mayor, if I could,
Sure. Councilmember Ward.
Chris, how did we get to just address that one street?
Yeah, so Marianne actually contacted me. She asked, what is the process? I said the process is to fill out a petition and get her resident, the majority of the residents that live on the street. They submitted the petition. It is true that 16 of the 16 residents signed of the petition. It did go to Skit, and Skit approved it, which is a street codes investigations team. If there are other streets, I would encourage them to reach out to me or other members of Skit. Fill out a petition, and Skit will review that and make its recommendation to City Council.
Okay, because I know there are other neighborhoods bordering the school that are struggling with similar problems and some even worse.
Mhm.
And I think we need to figure out a way to get some voice to.
Yeah, in this scenario, there's a stretch of 600 feet that doesn't have any homes in front of it. It's actually the backyards of homes. I forget the adjacent street to the east. But it seemed like a clear case for it.
Yeah, because I think with the last decision that the Board of Adjustment gave a variance on, I think they're over 1,000 parking spaces short of what our requirements are up there. And
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, we've given them a lot of leeway there. But I think it's becoming a negative for folks in the community. Thanks.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yeah, before you leave, Chris, I just wanted to know, I had a resident complain about Woodlawn from Argonne south to where it turns and the railroad tracks are there.
Yeah.
There's a home there that has a business running out of it, and they have 7 to 10 cars parked in front of the house every day across the street.
Councilmember Gibbons, I'm gonna have to stop you. That's not
Oh.
related to this bill. So is it related anyway to this bill? I just have to make. I'm sorry. I also got the eye from.
Okay. Oh, of course you did. Got it. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a
aside.
perfect solution.
Thank you. Sorry.
Councilmember
I
Zimmer?
just have a quick question. Is this typical standard procedure if they want to do this, that petition has to be signed by the residents of a particular street? So this is standard on how we handle this.
Yes, it's all standard procedure on, a signed petition was received by the majority of the residents. And that's why we are acting upon it.
Thanks.
Speak for Chris, but one reason petitions are helpful, they're not the only reason, is because you'll find one person wants no parking, the neighbor doesn't want no parking. So I mean, at least this way it kind of gives, our skit team kind of an idea of what they're getting into. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? All right. Then all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no, bill passes first reading. Bill 10984.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance approving the final site plan for a community unit plan and the final subdivision plat of a 6-lot subdivision on the property known 600 North Ballas Road, a tract of land being in the south half of section 34, township 45 north, range 5 east in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Say no, bill passes first reading. Move on to resolution 53, 2023.
Mayor and council, this is a resolution accepting the quote of Schaefer Electric in the amount of $230,000 for the purchase and installation of a permanent generator at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing,
Well, I was just wondering, and I don't know, I'm sorry. Is this meant as an emergency generator, or it could potentially service the entire theater? Like, I mean, if it needed to kick in, this would just allow emergency lights and whatever basics, utilities to continue. This isn't meant to power the entire building, right?
This would be a full backup generator for the facility because currently there is a temporary generator that's
Portable.
supplied, a portable generator supplied by the electric department. So this would take its place and provide permanent power, so we wouldn't have issues of transport and all those type of things.
And the current portable one has much less capacity,
The portable one that we'll utilize, but we actually, it's not permanently housed here at the city. So it does supply enough power. Everything that's set up for this generator is already in place, the transfer switch. This is just placing the full generator there.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
In my understanding, and Bill or somebody who not understands this stuff could say it should be almost seamless.
Seamless, it would kick in
Yeah.
when there were
That's what I-
blips or whatever kinds of
Yeah.
things happen over there. So if there were a production going
Well,
on.
The whole idea of bringing the temporary was, we did the Karate Kid last year. And that's really what it was. So in the event there was a outage, it would just keep going. So.
Okay, wow, all right, great.
Good. Anything
you.
else from council? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 54, 2023.
Mayor and council, this is a resolution amending resolution 127 2022 for the purchase of energy block power for the months of October 2022 and October 2023 by increasing the purchase order amount by $50,000 for the amount of not to exceed amount of $689,000 from AEP Energy for the electric department and authorizing and directing the director of procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Zimmer?
I'm just surprised Mr. Petty's not here to give us a speech.
I was looking. Thanks. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 55, 2023.
Mayor and council, this is a resolution amending the contract with Spencer Contracting by increasing the amount by $141,840.84, which includes a contingency of $12,894.62 for a total not to exceed amount of $415,075.17 for the 2023 asphaltic concrete overlays for the engineering department and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
For a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor, do we have someone who could give us a somewhat in-depth explanation for that change?
Chris?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So what this comes from is the UBOS contract. We decided that the unit prices for that contract exceeded what historical numbers are for concrete. And so we decided to eliminate that contract and not award that contract. So what we're doing here is adding a street that was on that UBOS contract into this contract.
Okay, thank you.
I see another hand or Councilmember Lizzo,
I
go
just
ahead.
put mine up. I don't know if anybody else.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just wondering, Chris, do you expect problems letting or soliciting bidders on UBOS contracts going forward? What's the
So we
issue here?
historically, we've gotten two bidders. There's two bidders that do the work in St. Louis. Pace Construction did not bid. We got one bid through Wes. And so we'll look at what our future when we go out for bid and see if UBOS is a viable thing. And if we get numbers in a good range, we would award it.
So we've got like Spencer, Pace and.
So
and
Spencer
whoever.
does not do UBOS.
Oh,
Only two
so you've given up the whole U-Boss idea. They're just gonna
for
do
this year.
regular asphalt. Oh, I see. Okay.
Correct.
But this ultra thin bonded asphalt wearing surface stuff actually has proven itself. It's just there are not lots of contractors who.
Yeah,
apply
so
that
it's a
technology.
lower treatment, but it's at a lower cost. So we think with this treatment, well, we're gonna get a better product on for Taylor, which is what this is funding.
Okay. All right, thank you.
What is UBOS? Sorry.
Ultra thin bonded asphalt wearing surface. So all that means is it's only a 3/4 inch overlay versus a 2-inch overlay, which is what this is gonna receive.
Thanks, Liz. I thought it was only me.
Yeah, whatever.
All right, anything else from council? All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Resolution passes. And then the item from the consent agenda, Resolution 51, 2023.
Mayor and council, this is a resolution accepting the single source proposal of Placer Labs in the amount of $22,000 for the purchase of customized visitor data software for the Planning and Development Services Department and authorizing and directing the Director of Procurement to issue a purchase order.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, questions or comments? I know Council Member Gibbons had a question or just want an explanation. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds really cool and I'm not against it and it's not that much money, but I just want to know, how's this going to know where it's kind of spooky a little bit. They're going to know where we are at all times or.
Yeah, it is a little spooky. But it used cell phone data, anonymized cell phone data. And I've sat through demonstrations, and with other staff and they've explained it. It's proprietary and very complicated. They have all the calculations worked out where they know they have a statistically significant sample size off the cell phone data that they have. Again, it's all anonymous cell phone data. It just knows number of people and other attributes, but doesn't know. Anyway, it's not pinned to a specific person. So what it will tell us is, and it's going to be, we think it could be helpful for a lot of different departments because we can draw an area in this mapping system around a specific, we could do it around the train station, around the Performing Arts Center. We could do it around Kirkwood Park. We could do it around downtown. We could do it around the whole city. And it'll tell us the number of visitors to whatever customized area that we want to know how many, where they're coming from, where they're going, what routes they're taking. So it's a lot of data with a lot of different implications. And unfortunately, all that information is out there, right? It's just this is a piece of information that we think, or a service that we think we'd like to try out and see how much it can be useful for a lot of various different things.
Well, I notice in here it mentions visitor or I forget, not convention, but visitors.
Yep.
Center or visitor. And so I'm hoping that means that we might get a group that works on tourism and that kind
I
of
can
thing.
say that's not part of, that's not.
So
That's not
sounds
true,
like,
Liz. That's okay.
oh, that one's okay. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. So,
Mr. Lawyer, you don't want to marry the one, you know?
this sounds really, again, scary, but awesome. And I hope, it'll be exciting for economic development and tourism.
All right, Councilmember Zimmer, you had-
Yeah, Jonathan, just so we can reassure people, it's basically anonymous. It's anonymous.
Yep.
It's just the signal from your phone counts how many of these there are.
Mhm.
And that is what derives the data.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on it, but I mean, if you're using certain programs, you have agreed to give that information to those people.
Absolutely.
If you want to opt out of it and do
It's all
that, and you can get rid of your cell phone too, and then so.
It's all that fine print that we've been agreeing to when we check the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Okay.
All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jonathan, thanks. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please. Yes.
Councilmember Givens,
Yes.
Councilmember Lizzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Go to city council reports. Anyone have anything to report? Right? Seeing nothing, Chief Administrative Officer report.
I have nothing to report.
All right, and before we ask Mr. Lawyer here, to say something. Nancy, two things. One, be careful. If you sit there, Bridget, I'm surprised she didn't put you to work. Second, that's right. Secondly, I'm gonna have, our city attorney address your question about the Board of Adjustment. There's no one better to answer than him, so I'll go ahead and have him answer it.
Board of Adjustment is an independent board. It is one of the few boards that the city council has no involvement in whatsoever. If you're dissatisfied with a decision of the Board of Adjustment, you don't go to the council as in city council, you go to legal counsel. So a lawsuit can be filed in the Circuit Court of St. Louis County, challenging their decision. The city council has absolutely no authority whatsoever. In fact, it would be totally improper for any member of the city council to try to influence the decision before the hearing and after the hearing.
So the council is not the
Council
remedy,
is
yeah.
COUNSEL, not CIL.
All right. All right. If that answers the question, so anything else, city attorney?
I have nothing, Mayor.
All right, city clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. I have a couple things to report on. First is the report of the May 3rd meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The following action was taken by a vote of 5-1. The commission recommended approval of a zoning code text amendment related to mixed-use development requirements and a development plan for the proposed Arts District mixed-use condo development at 132 East Monroe Avenue. A public hearing will be scheduled for both of those items for June 1st. And by a vote of 5-1, the commission approved amending their 2023 calendar of meetings to cancel the first meeting of the month during the months of June, July, and August. And the final thing I have to report on is that my office received a records destruction form from the Fleet Services Department, which will be filed, a copy will be filed in my office and with these minutes. And that's all I have to report.
Lori, next meeting of city council is 7 PM, May 18th. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.